Hello and welcome to Indus News live from Islamabad. I am Muneeb Hamid with the news of this hour. Let's begin with the top stories first. Taliban Supreme Leader Haibatullah Akhundzada says he favors a political settlement to the Afghan conflict in spite of military gains and advances. In a message, Akhundzada said Afghans should resolve their issues themselves instead of relying on foreigners. He said the Taliban are committed to forging a solution to end the war, but slammed other sides for wasting time. Iran's foreign ministry insists that a prisoner swap deal has been agreed upon with the United States. In a tweet, spokesperson Saeed Khatibzadeh said Washington's denial is outrageous and all sides agreed to release 10 inmates. In India, at least 30 people have died after several houses collapsed due to rain-triggered landslides in Mumbai. Rescuers said a number of people are feared trapped in the rubble. The Weather Department has issued a red alert for Mumbai, saying more rains are expected in the next 4 days. The daily coronavirus deaths in Brazil have declined to 868 after a week of surging. New cases have also fallen from around 57,000 to more than 34,000 in the last 24 hours. Pakistan has reported more than 2,600 new cases and 21 deaths overnight. Globally, the virus has claimed over 4 million lives and infected more than 188 million people. Well, these were the top stories. News in detail after a short break. Stay with us. Welcome back. Now let's have the news in detail. We'll start from Afghanistan, where Taliban Supreme Leader Haibatullah Akhundzada says he favors a political settlement to the Afghan conflict in spite of military gains and advances.
In a message ahead of Muslim religious festival of Eid al-Adha, Akhundzada said Afghans should resolve their issues themselves instead of relying on foreigners. He said the Taliban are committed to forging a solution to end the war, but slammed other sides for wasting time. His message comes a day after representatives of the Afghan government and Taliban sat down for a new round of talks in Doha over the weekend. The much-awaited negotiations come amid a sweeping Taliban offensive in Afghanistan as foreign forces finalize their withdrawal. Today, the Taliban claim to have captured the Jakansur district in Nimroz province, killing several Afghan soldiers. Meanwhile, Afghan troops said they have recaptured Parvan Surkh Parsa district and killed a number of Taliban fighters. The Defense Ministry said security forces killed over 100 Taliban in 13 provinces over the past 24 hours.
Now, Iran's foreign ministry insists that a prisoner swap deal has been agreed with the United States. Spokesperson Saeed Khatibzadeh said Washington's denial is outrageous. All sides agreed to release 10 inmates. In a tweet, he said the talks with the US and the UK on the issues were separate from the JCPOA. Khatibzadeh said Tehran is ready to proceed with the prisoner exchange today. Earlier, the US accused Iran of an outrageous effort to deflect blame for the impasse in nuclear talks. The State Department said the Tehran's delay in restarting the process is not helping. Now, the European Union has expressed concern over the Israeli aggression at the Al-Aqsa Mosque. This comes after illegal Israeli settlers and occupying Israeli forces violated the sanctity of the mosque. Calling for an urgent calming down of the situation, the bloc said acts of incitement must be avoided. Earlier, the settlers and occupation forces broke into the courtyards of the Al-Aqsa Mosque compound and attacked Palestinian worshippers. Palestine's Ministry of Foreign Affairs urged the global community to take a decisive stance against the Israeli aggression. Hamas has condemned the Israeli raid, calling it an assault on the holy sites. Now, China says it opposes any attempts of a regime change in Syria. The remarks come as Chinese Foreign Minister Wang Yi met with President Bashar al-Assad in Damascus. Wang said under Assad's leadership, Syria has made valuable achievements in combating terrorism and opposing external interference. The foreign minister noted that Assad's re-election reflects the strong trust and support of the Syrians. Wang added, blatant foreign interventions in Syria have failed in the past and will not succeed in the future. He reaffirmed China's support for the reconstruction of Syria and opposed unilateral sanctions against it. For his part, Assad said Syria supports China unconditionally on the issues related to Taiwan, Xinjiang and Hong Kong. He also expressed hope to take part in the joint BRI construction and to strengthen cooperation in the fields of economy and science. Now, the death toll from freak floods in Western Europe has risen to 183. Hundreds of people are still missing as several areas are inaccessible due to high water levels. Police have reported 157 deaths in Germany, while at least 27 people have lost their lives in Belgium. Rescue services fear that the death toll could rise. Over the past several days, the floods have cut off entire communities from power and communications. Water levels slowly fell in the worst hit parts of Belgium, allowing residents to sort through damaged possessions. Meanwhile, the floods also prompted evacuations in the Netherlands, Switzerland and Luxembourg. Now, in India, at least 30 people have died after several houses collapsed due to rain-triggered landslides in Mumbai. The National Disaster Response Force said a number of people are feared trapped in the rubble. Authorities said 24 people have been rescued from the areas. Officials said 2 others were injured in 2 different incidents in Chembur and Vikhroli areas. The Weather Department has issued a red alert for Mumbai in the backdrop of heavy rains. Several areas in the city are waterlogged after heavy rainfall and suburban train services are disrupted. Now moving to Thailand, where thousands of protesters have clashed with the security forces as they march towards Prime Minister Prayut Chan-o-cha's office. They are calling for the Prime Minister's resignation over the handling of the COVID-19 pandemic. Authorities used tear gas, water cannon and rubber bullets to disperse the crowd. The clash took place after some protesters tried to dismantle barbed wire and metal barricades blocking the roads to Government House. Earlier, police urged people not to join the protests over the risk of further spreading of the coronavirus. The protest marks 1 year since the first wave of large-scale street protests. The momentum of those protests stalled after authorities began cracking down on rallies and detaining the protest leaders. The daily coronavirus deaths in Brazil have declined to 868 after a week of surging. New cases have also fallen from around 57,000 to more than 34,000 in the last 24 hours. More details about the pandemic in this report.
The number of daily new infections has surged this past week to levels not seen since February. Mexico reported over 12,000 confirmed cases and 225 more fatalities, whereas Thailand has announced the expansion of coronavirus restrictions to 3 more provinces after the country reported a 3rd consecutive day of record case numbers. Meanwhile, Tokyo Olympics organizers have reported 3 new infections among athletes, including 2 at the village. That compares with 15 new cases on Saturday, whereas the European Union says it has exceeded in the US in vaccination. Globally, the virus has claimed over 4 million lives and infected more than 188 million people.
Meanwhile, Pakistan has reported 21 more deaths from COVID-19 and over 2,600 cases. The Health Ministry says the toll has climbed to 22,781. It said the country's positivity ratio has climbed to 5.34%. Pakistan has reported over 989,000 cases since the pandemic began, while more than 919,000 people have recovered. The active cases have surpassed 47,000, while over 2,500 of them are in critical condition. Now in France, thousands marched across the country to protest President Emmanuel Macron's plans of forced vaccination of health workers. They also protested the requirement of a COVID-19 free certificate to enter recreational places. Macron announced sweeping measures earlier this week to fight a rapid surge in coronavirus infections. Protesters say these measures infringe the freedom of choice of those who do not want the COVID shot. According to a poll, more than 60% of the people agree with mandatory vaccination and a health pass. So far, around 55% of French have received a single dose of the COVID-19 jab. The United Kingdom says every adult in the country has been offered a COVID vaccine ahead of restrictions easing. The government said around 88% of adults have had the first dose and 68% have had both. Prime Minister Boris Johnson said the vaccination target had been met and it was an extraordinary achievement. He promised in February that all adults would be offered the first dose by the end of July. Meanwhile, British Health Minister Sajid Javid has tested positive for the virus and is self-isolating. It comes as Britain recorded more than 50,000 daily cases on both Friday and Saturday. Now, Turkey has condemned a ruling by the European Union Court of Justice allowing conditional headscarf ban as a clear violation of religious freedoms. In a statement, the Turkish Foreign Ministry said the ruling is a sign of rising Islamophobia in the West. It said the ruling comes at a time when Muslim women in Europe are being subjected to increasing discrimination for their faith. The Turkish presidency also condemned the move, labeling it an attempt to grant legitimacy to racism. Earlier, the European Top Court had ruled that companies in the bloc can ban employees from wearing a headscarf under certain conditions. Now, Facebook has it back after the Biden administration denounced it for spreading misinformation about COVID-19 vaccines. In a blog, Facebook Vice President Guy Rosen said the tech giant is not the reason the U.S. missed its vaccination goal. Rosen said President Joe Biden has chosen to blame a handful of American social media companies. He asserted that vaccine acceptance among Facebook users in the U.S. has increased. Rosen said company data shows 85% of Facebook users have either been vaccinated or want to be. This comes after Biden declared in unusually strong language that the platforms were killing people. Facebook's response follows a forceful condemnation of the company by Biden when asked on Friday. Now, in the U.S., 4 people have been shot outside a professional baseball stadium in the District of Columbia. In April, the police said no one sustained life-threatening injuries in the incident in Washington, D.C. It said an investigation is underway and it appears that there is no active threat. A match was in progress between the Washington Nationals and the San Diego Padres at the time of the shooting. The police said the game was being suspended. Pope Francis has called for peace and dialogue in Cuba after nationwide protests rocked the communist-run country. Speaking after the Angelus prayer in the Vatican in his first appearance since being discharged from hospital after surgery, the Pope said he is close to the people of Cuba in these difficult times, in particular to the families suffering the most. Last week, worst unrest seen in the country in decades, with protesters in dozens of locations calling for freedom. On Saturday, pro-government forces along with President Miguel Diaz-Canel took the streets in Havana to support the regime. Now, in Western Kenya, at least 13 people have died after an oil tanker overturned and caught fire. Authorities say 11 others are wounded, including children. They said the crash happened as the driver tried to avoid a head-on collision with another lorry. Onlookers rushed to the scene to siphon oil when it exploded, engulfing those around in the fireball. Fire crews arrived at the scene 2 hours later to douse the flames. Moving on now, 3 Chinese nationals and 2 Mauritanians have been kidnapped in southwestern Mali. The Malian army says gunmen attacked a construction site near Kuala town and took 5 vans. The army said the attackers also destroyed equipment, including a crane and dump trucks belonging to international firms. In a social media post, it said proceedings are underway against the assailants. Kidnappings in the country are frequent, both of Malians and foreigners. On 8th of April, Sahel's largest jihadist alliance kidnapped French journalist Olivier Deboy in northern Mali. Now, gunmen have abducted at least 60 people and killed one person in Nigeria's northwestern Zamfara state. Police said the abductors attacked 5 villagers in the Shinkafi area. Witnesses said bandits escaped into the nearby forest after the kidnapping. They said the armed men riding on over 70 motorbikes also destroyed properties. They added the kidnappers fired a rocket that hit the house of a senior district official. Nigeria is battling an increase in armed robberies and kidnappings for ransom mainly in the northwestern areas. More news coming up in this news bulletin after a short break. Stay with us. Welcome back. Now in Spain, firefighters have used air tankers to control a wildfire in Costa Brava region. The blaze has forced over 300 people to evacuate their homes. The fire tore through about 1,000 acres of forest and scrubland on the edge of a popular tourist area, the Cap de Cruz Park. Authorities say the fire might have been caused by a discarded cigarette. They said anyone found responsible can face criminal charges. While Catalan Fire Service says 6 aircraft and 90 fire crews have been deployed. Now in the UK, Pakistan Air Force's pride, the F-17 Thunder was the show stealer at the Royal International Air Tattoo. The Riyadh 2021 is being held virtually due to COVID restrictions. F-17 dazzled spectators with breathtaking maneuvers and daring stunts while demonstrating the Pakistan Air Force's capabilities. The Royal International Air Tattoo is the world's largest military air show held annually over the 3rd weekend in July. Pakistan Air Force has been participating in the ride since 2016. This year, PAF jets are displaying their skills along with 70 other air forces of the world. Now, as the annual Islamic festival of Eid al-Adha approaches, professional groomers in Pakistan spruce up camels to sell them at higher prices. Let's find out the details in this report.
With a pair of sharp scissors, an aluminium plate, and a dining room chair, Pakistani camel groomer Ali Hassan snips away at his camel's hair, turning its back into a work of art. With Eid al-Adha just around the corner, he is a busy man. He does this work every year to show off his skills at the country's biggest cattle market in Karachi.
I make these designs on camels because people find them beautiful when they look at them. They're good and attractive. When I make these designs with proficiency, everyone loves them.
The 50-year-old learned the art of camel grooming from his father and has been doing it since he was a child. His services range from $31 to $63 but could be even higher depending on the complexity of the design. The work, which is done on both sides of the camel, can take up to 5 hours to complete.
All these patterns are easy to carve, but the most difficult part is the round shape or circle. Not every designer can draw it. You can bring any designer from this whole camel market here. He will not be able to place this design in a circle like I have done.
Camels have remained an important part of life for people in Pakistan and India for centuries. They are still widely used in transport and farming in remote and arid areas.
Now in China's, the world's largest astronomy museum has made its debut to the public in Shanghai. The one-of-its-kind museum will officially start embracing visitors on Sunday. It covers an area of around 58,600 square meters. The building is designed to highlight the orbital motion of the Sun and the Earth with 3 principal forms. Officials say the museum intends to create an immersive experience of engaging in a real astronomical phenomenon. For instance, visitors can take a trip into a starry night in the optical planetarium theater. American pop star Britney Spears says she won't be performing again while her father retains control over her career. In a social media post, Spears said she will rather perform from her living room instead of on stage in Vegas. The singer said the situation she has been under for 13 years had killed her dreams. Her comments were the latest in her outcry against the conservatorship that controls her personal and financial affairs. Spears this week appointed a new lawyer to represent her in her bid to bring the conservatorship to an end, calling it abusive. She and her lawyer have yet to file a formal request to end the arrangement. The Cannes Film Festival has drawn to a close in southern France. The event managed to gather a large number of film stars despite the pandemic. Let's find out more in this report.
The world's biggest film festival returned to the French Riviera after 2020 hiatus due to the coronavirus pandemic, in one of the most unpredictable contests in years. Titane, a wildly imaginative film about a serial killer by French director Julia Ducournau, won the top Palme d'Or prize at the Cannes Film Festival. Other big winners included Léos Carax, picked as the best director for Annette, a musical about two artists caught in a twisted love affair. Hamaguchi Raisuke and Taka Musa, Oi of Japan, won the best screenplay for their tale of heartbreak and loss, Drive My Car.
Merci beaucoup.
Thank you very much. Regarding the prize for Best Screenplay, first I need to thank the author of the source material, Haruki Murakami.
Renée Reinsve won the Best Actress for her role in The Worst Person in the World by Joachim Trier, a modern-day romantic comedy that was a big hit with the critics. Caleb Landry Jones, who played the role of a mass murderer in an Australian film, Nitram, won the Best Actor and was speechless on stage.
I think I'm going to throw up. I'm sorry. Thank you to the jury. Thank you, Justin. I cannot do this. I'm so sorry. I cannot do this. Thank you so much.
The jury prize, another runner-up award for the best movie, went to two films. The Dov Lapid's searing look into artistic freedoms in Israel in Ahid's Knee, and a cryptic meditative drama Memoria by Thailand's Apichatpong Virasetakul. Italian director Marco Belloscio, 81, was given an honorary Palme d'Or. A young Chinese director Tang Yi, 32, won the Palme d'Or for Best Short Film with All the Crows in the World.
And now for the weather updates, we have Naila Shuja with us.
Thank you. So we're going to be starting off with Abu Dhabi, where it is extremely hot and sunny with temperatures around 40 degrees Celsius. Now heading to Amsterdam, the sun will be partially out with temperatures around 24 degrees Celsius. Ankara will also be experiencing some extreme weather at around 40 degrees Celsius, while Auckland has some nice winter weather at 18 degrees Celsius with some clouds. Now heading to Bangkok, the rain will get in the way of your plans, so make sure you have an umbrella on hand. Temperatures will rise to around 32 degrees Celsius. Moving towards Beijing, the temperatures are around 27 degrees Celsius, but the rain might get in the way, so be careful. In Beirut, the temperatures will be around 31 degrees Celsius with some sunny weather in the way. Berlin will also be experiencing some sun with temperatures rising to 25 degrees Celsius. While in Cairo, the sun is out and is not here to play with temperatures rising to 38 degrees Celsius. While in Canberra, it has some partially pleasant sunny winter weather at around 12 degrees Celsius. While Islamabad, the temperature is around 37 degrees Celsius and sunny. And in Jakarta, the temperature is around 33 degrees Celsius with some cloudy weather. That's all we have for now. Back to you.
Thank you, Naila, for the weather updates. And that is the end of this news bulletin. For the latest updates, you can follow us on social media at Indus.News.